there is to be an arrival of a fleet of non-human intelligence beings, one of which is in one of those craft is very large and nearly planetary size. It will affect our solar system. It will affect our sun. It will affect our the electromagnetism of the earth and our tides. And these are very old, very old.
A 12-hour marathon took place yesterday in a special event on Twitter about disclosure. And one of the leaders of that event reached out to me on Twitter and asked me to come. And I agreed. And in this video, I'm going to play 3 different highlights from this 12-hour marathon recording that I found to be interesting. Now make sure you stay till the end because the last clip is, well, I don't really have a word for it. In the first clip, is going to be from Jason Sands. You might remember him. I've made several videos about him. Links in the description. Jason is also going to be featured in James Fox's new upcoming documentary, The Program. So, without further ado, here's the first clip from Jason Sands.
You know, the NHI being able to come forward of their own accord to solve the mystery once and for all. I mean, I wish there were some way to get them to do that, but they're going to have to do it on their own. So what are we stuck with is we're stuck with what Steve is discussing is, okay, well, without that on the table, how do we proceed with disclosure? And that's where like I said, we need, no kidding, a breakthrough where the president and or the Secretary of Defense decides to declassify the existence of these other beings, that they have been here and they have had knowledge of them. And I think also the Congress has also been making some preparations that if that revelation does occur, that there are certain things in place for the people that have had contact to come forward. And that would mean they wanted some kind of amnesty in some cases, because it's going to be really rough on whoever that shoulders that falls upon, is that all the years of deceit then come crumbling down, and there's going to be a lot of consternation over that. So how public that will be another matter for Congress to tackle. You can't just expose these people who are trying to be honest about it, and then knowing full well that there'll be a sniper in every window for the rest of their lives, kind of thing. You wouldn't want that to happen to them, especially if they're trying to help. But just like in any other workplace, like I talked about before, there are snakes in the grass that honestly were the ones that perpetrated maybe some of these horrible things that people and other whistleblowers have attested to, that there has been some people's lives completely demolished, that there's people walking around with PTSD for what happened to them because the program people lashed out at them. And that is something that is going to be really hard to stop justice from being meted out to them. And that is another aspect of this that Congress needs to get a hold of, is that, who's going to deserve that amnesty? And then at what point are if there's been criminal acts, is there a threshold even to the amnesty that we're not going to abide by because what they've done is so heinous? Those are things we're going to have to tackle as questions of reality that, you don't have to convince me that we're not alone. I wish everybody could know that, but, it'd be great that if they do come to the conclusion that we're not alone, that we could tackle this a lot differently, because then at least that would not come into question anymore, and it would make it more tangible to have a real investigation and a real process to parse out the good from the bad and sift out, what actually happened, and make sure that the legislation that we passed is going to really work in that situation, because I mean you're crossing boundaries that have no precedent, honestly. Because if we're dealing with an NHI presence that's not been publicly known, and there have been secretive agreements with these beings, you're talking about something that's never been done before in any legal court whatsoever. And how do you even begin to tackle a crime that has been committed by a program that has entered into these kinds of agreements? And then again, the NHI presence that may have been party to that. How do you think your way through that as well? Hopefully the NHI have kept themselves out of any of the criminal acts. I think that that's kind of what I would think if I had been from an intelligence from outside this world. I wouldn't get caught up in the politics of this world. I think that it's messed up, already, and to involve myself in that and entangling myself in it. I think that's why so few in the government are even knowledgeable of the presence and are read into this, is because I think the NHI would prefer not to be involved with the government, because they can see that that would bring a lot of other attachments and would call into question their integrity here on our planet. And yeah, maybe that's one of the reasons why they are not willing to come public on their motivations and why they're here.
Jason, as a follow-up, we have been hearing that some of the world leaders of today are NHI, quite possibly hybrids. So when you say so I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that aspect, especially if do you think that the NHIs that don't want disclosure are those that are actually in our government and world leaders?
Oh yeah, heck, that's like the bee's knees of what infiltration's all about. Is you get yourselves your spies at the highest levels of your enemy's government, and you do what you need to circumvent things, cause problems, even try to cause civil wars before your nefarious machinations are found out. Yeah, there's a huge possibility for that. I have no evidence that any of them are aliens. I'm sure some people would gladly point fingers, but I'm not like that. I mean, I've never seen anybody with lizard eyes, for example, um, in my presence. But I think the human factor is quite nefarious to begin with, without any NHI presence, because of all the reasons we already see this season in politics and between nations, in all the mess we're in. So yeah, I would say that logically, in any war or any effort, if you're trying to coerce and you're trying to take advantage of, you would try to infiltrate at the highest levels. So it's because, yeah, if I was an NHI and I wanted to take over the world, that's what I'd do. That's a logical step. Now, I don't have any proof of it. That's the problem.
I have another follow-up, if that's okay. This question really goes out to the room, but I'm curious about hybrids and experiencers, and what you think, Tom, Eric, Jason, Fringe. Do you think that certain experiencers, quite possibly like yourselves, could quite possibly be hybrids of a species? Without, I don't want to sound disrespectful in asking that question. I just am curious to see what the thought process is regarding this, especially with Gary Nolan's scientific, with his research as well.
Well, let me go first, and then I'll let everybody else speak. Yes, my family has been affected by NHI or some unexplained uh, events. Let me put it that way, and entities that sometimes look like us and other times not. I've seen at least 7 or 8 different types of craft in my life, from childhood up till now. Um, but I have to tell you, Sarah, I feel like a human. I really do.
I believe. I mean, I don't think it would be bad either way. I think it's I'm so sorry. I don't mean to come off. I hope I didn't.
No, I'm poking fun at you.
Okay.
But yes, I'm just saying that, yes, even though I've been exposed to this, at no point, even if I was a hybrid, I still am very much on the side of humans, and I feel very human myself.
Now, this next clip is from a guy named Tom. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know much about him, but he has a YouTube channel about the same size as Vetted. But what he had to say I found quite interesting. So, here's his clip.
Yeah, well, the important thing to remember, or to consider, is that hybridization can take many different forms. Because normally when we think of hybrids, we just think of gene splicing, like the way they hybridize industrial seeds or animals or something like that. So that's only one form, because you can also have other forms of genetic introduction. For example, chimeras. That's where you've got one being, but it actually has two different sets of DNA in the same being. Like one cell is one DNA, another cell is another DNA. And Peter Curie case, he when he had his little adventure with two alien-looking women, the hair that he saved, they DNA analyzed it, and the shaft and the root of the hair had two different DNA sets. So whatever this being was, it seems like it was an artificial type being. It wasn't fully natural, biological like we are, right? So that's a possibility. Another one, I was reading an article where they took human brain cells, specifically the astrocytes, or the glial cells, they're like support cells for the neurons, and they injected it into a mouse, and the mouse became like a super mouse that was able to navigate the mazes amazingly well, compared to the normal mice. But the interesting thing is, if you were to take blood from the super mouse and you run it through a DNA analysis, it would come back 100% mouse. Why? Because all the interesting biological components were in the brain as a separate biological support structure. So who's to say that certain people might have, let's say, alien astrocytes in their brain, and they can take any DNA test they want and nothing suspicious is going to come back. However, they might have advanced psi abilities or superior intelligence or whatever, right? So I'm just saying that there's other things that could happen. Or, even like if you go down the more mystical, esoteric route, you could have the idea that you could have, let's say, an alien being with a real soul incarnating into a human body, or like a walk-in, taking it over at a certain age. And now this person is a walking, talking alien, essentially, but looks completely human because there's another consciousness residing in that brain. So, yeah, these are like different possibilities to consider. And so with all these different possibilities, I think the probability of there being hybrids in some way or form in our society is higher than if it were just the regular gene splicing.
Now, this last clip is where it gets a little wonky, I'm not going to lie. The next person I'm going to present to you is a person named Anjali. Some of you may remember her from a press conference she gave where some interesting things were said. Let's take a look.
Thank you all for coming here to this beautiful setting for one of the most amazing announcements I think the planet will hear. This is Anjali, who's had direct experience with these beings. They've come to her, they've directed her to be here, and she's going to deliver a statement from her experience and also see what else wants to be said today. So thanks so much for being here, Anjali. I'm Alan Steinfeld, and go ahead, it's all yours. Thank you all for being here. We'll take questions after.
Yes. Hi, good afternoon. Many of you know me by Anjali, because that's how I chose to come forward with the name of what the higher beings that I am here to disclose to you about today have called me, since I have become aware of their presence.
Now, I'm not here to judge. You decide for yourself. But here's that same person speaking at this event as well. Here's her clip.
Anjali, I'm going to go back to a question that's been posed, and then there's an additional question just to get these to you before you might have to leave today. One of them is about your organization. If you could mention your organization or talk about it and the current work you're doing. And then there is a second question from an experiencer.
Are you referring to the Transcension Project? Courtney?
It was another organization. It was an organization that was sent to me. Omnicron that's not your organization. If you could
It's not.
go
It's
ahead.
not my organization. It is an organization that I am a part of, and I haven't been, heavily involved in the organization because I've had other things that I have been focused on. But my understanding from many conversations in meetings is that there is a possibility that we currently have it has been described as a fleet of ships that was identified via a remote viewing experience, and also identified by a in-person contact experience with non-human entities that showed that in 2027 there is to be an arrival of a fleet of non-human intelligence beings, one of which is one of those craft is very large and nearly planetary size. It will affect our solar system. It will affect our sun. It will affect our the electromagnetism of the earth and our tides. And these are very old incarnate beings of they're ancient beings. Um, they all house within the inside of this ship that appears from the outside to be very planetary. It is a living craft, and they are not happy with the way that the human experiment has been going. And my position is that they are coming to observe. Another position that has been posited is that because of how large their craft is and their fleet is, that it has a drag. It drags other cosmic bodies along with it. So remnants of previous stars and planets, basically what we would consider to be asteroids, very large loose objects that become kind of trapped in their field, and there's a potential for that for these objects to cause a catastrophic damage to the planet. Okay. Now, I cannot tell you that I know that this is going to happen. Okay. I myself was not given that message, but let me tell you what I was told. I was shown and communicated this to USG personnel in 2021. I was shown a planetary size ship that the entire society lived inside of, and that because of where we were in our cyclical loop through whatever this is, that we are now within an actual cosmic location that we only come to every, I can't even put, um, I can't put a number on that. So, for just for ease sake, we'll say every 30,000 years. Okay. It's just so that we can try to conceptualize something here. But let's just say that every 30,000 years, we come through this area. And when we come through this area, then we are within a proximity of very ancient beings who may have been directly involved in and perhaps even had oversight over the creation of humanity in the beginning. So they have a very deep, long, and invested interest in how this human experiment is going, which is, according to them, a consciousness growth experiment. And that has been kind of perverted into, for some beings, like a playground where they can inhabit the body and experience a localized expression of source from the sensory perception of a human biotech, the human body, okay, or a human avatar. So we offer a very specific kind of experience that other life forms don't necessarily get to have. And eventually, my understanding is that all consciousness will cycle through all of it, and that we actually experience it as a cycle, but it's really something that happens simultaneously. And like I was talking about earlier, that if you receive a PDF document, it's 150 pages, and you open it to page 1, and it takes you a couple of days to get page 150, you don't say, oh, page 150 manifested today. No, page 150 was always there. It's just that you finally reached it, and now you know about it. So we have to kind of approach this entire subject that way, that it's always there. And we're just sequentially, because of our kind of sensory perception, we're experiencing it in kind of a sequential way, instead of a linear A to B to C to D, or a chronological, 1, 2, 3. So I hope that I cannot remember what the original question was. I'm so sorry. But so I guess I would just say that personally, I'm not with my spiritual development. I have no anxiety about the situation. I think that whatever is going to be is going to be, and that it really doesn't matter one way or the other. That what matters is that some of the things that they're telling us, I think, are pretty intuitive to us, and that is, we may be faced with a set of challenges that give us opportunities to make choices about whether or not we are going to compassionately serve others and everything as we would an extension of ourselves, as the one thing that's actually experiencing it, or if we're going to take a very individualized, remaining localized point of view where we are actually saying, no, I'm going to be selfish about this and materialistic, because self serving, not selfish. Let me rephrase that. I'm very sorry. Self-serving rather than service to others, which is fine, because that's one of the options that we can take, that we can make. We have choices, and this is kind of a consciousness capstone course that we're going through here. So it's like, hey guys, kind of wake up, sleepyheads. You have all the resources and all of the tools that you need to consciously prepare yourself that things are about to change, and you're going to be faced with choices, and we want you to dig deepest into your most compassionate, selfless self, or if you would like to remain in a material existence, in this very specific material existence of a human body, human biotechnology, then you also have that opportunity, and you enter into a new cycle. So I guess the whole point is this itself is a cycle within a cycle. We are coming into, or we have entered already this area, and I don't know how to say it because I just see big black space, but I do see it's all kind of moving through, and uh, so we have opportunity by proximity to be able to interact with who may actually be, I don't want to say our makers, but they may have had a hand in conceptualizing who we are and what we're doing here and why this is necessary. And they may have been involved in the original seeding, and the original structuring of of the human experience and setting down the rules of what's been allowed. But because they've been gone for so long, things change a little bit. And so we start forming new rules because now we're in the proximity of something else. And maybe they see it and they're around and they are like, oh, well, gosh, we've got 30,000, years to kind of influence and change things because we don't agree with the rules that were set down, or we don't agree with how these rules were translated and how they became perverted, or whatever your perspective is. Guys, I'm putting this all out there from my understanding, and it's like a synthesization of knowledge that I've acquired throughout my lifetime, spiritual intuition, guidance from the beings, and just things that I've learned here in the world and what we understand about human history. So I am not too concerned because either way, life is going to continue and our expression will continue, and whatever is developing, we just all need to do our best. And I hope that everybody understands that.
A planet-sized UFO headed for Earth. What? I mean, look, there's a lot of reactions to have with that, right? Some of you may be thinking, wow, that sounded very believable. Others may be thinking, what the fuck? But at the end of the day, it's up for you to decide. But I have to admit, it's a lot to take in. But look, the space was open for people to just discuss anything, right? For 12 hours. And they were open to disagreeing. And to be honest with you, at the end of the day, that's what I found most interesting about the space today. I didn't listen to the whole 12 hours, but I did listen to quite a bit of it. It was the disagreements. It was the fact that all of these speakers really don't agree on a lot. They all have different ideas about what this non-human intelligence is, if it's even here on Earth, and what its motivations are. Some people speak from a perspective of fact, others speak, more theoretically. It's, again, a lot to take in. At the end of the day, we should just be having conversations about it, right? And hearing the most about it that you can. So I commend him for having a space and being open to disagreeing and going back and forth. Were some of the things said a lot to take in? Yeah. Do I believe it all? Not at all. All right, guys, we'll see you on the next video. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. Peace!
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep.